For a long time, I changed my lifestyle in different ways to be more energetic. Because having energy and mental clarity, in my opinion, is the key to crushing your goals and living an awesome and fun life. And unexpectedly, going on a low-carb, high-fat diet has been one of the most impactful things I've done in multiple years on this journey. I never thought much of it in the first place, but I realized from the research and my own experience that a low-carb diet can really be great if you want more energy, more stable energy, better mental clarity, and maybe even weight loss or better skin. I tried this way of eating a couple times by now, and I also looked into the research and what other experts say about it. And in this video, I will explain this way of eating to you, what it actually means, why it works, if you should try it, and whether it's really worth it, and how quickly you can expect changes, plus also a bonus tip at the end to make it even more effective. But let's not overrush things and go through this step by step. Now, what is a low-carb diet exactly? Or what am I referring to in this specific video? What does it really mean, and why would removing carbs even be any good? Of course, the obvious answer to what it is simply that you consume low amounts of carbohydrates. There is no real strict rule about how much exactly that means, but just less than usual. Also, you eat a lot more fat at the same time, because of course you still need to eat something, and that fat will serve as your energy source. But more on that later. Also, if you go on a keto diet, which is one form of a low-carb diet, then you usually eat below 50 grams of carbohydrates. And those 50 grams of carbohydrates means about 2 medium-sized bananas, 1 cup of cooked pasta, or 3 standard chocolate chip cookies. So as you see, it really is not a lot. But as I'll explain later, it might actually be worth it. And also, to be fair, you probably wouldn't eat any of those things on a keto diet, but I just wanted to make those examples because we all know these foods. But what do you eat on a low-carb diet then? Now, since it is an elimination diet, I'd actually want to start off with what not to eat. And that means, of course, any high-carb foods like sweets and snacks like donuts, crisps, cake, gummy bears, whatever. Those sorts of things with a lot of added sugar, fast food and a lot of processed food usually as well, because typically they contain a lot more carbs. And of course, bread, rice, pasta, even wraps and potato, as well as some fruit with lots of sugar and a few other things as well. A complete guide would take a little bit too much time for this video, but if you want a more complete guide, there's lots of stuff on the internet, or leave a comment, and if this video gets some engagement, I might do a video about that too. Now, there are probably at least 2 questions in your head somewhere right now. One question, why would that improve your energy, focus and health? Which I'll talk about in a minute. And the second question, what do you eat then? And that, of course, involves anything low carb. That usually means a lot of protein and vegetables, like a lot of meat, fish, salad, broccoli, cauliflower, non-starchy vegetables like that, but also berries or fruit that is low in sugar, some type of dairy like cheese or Greek yogurt, for example, nuts, and a few other things as well. And also, very importantly, a lot more fat than usual. But I'll explain that in a second. So now you should have an idea of what a low-carb or keto diet is all about, what it means and what you eat or not eat. But let's now look at why that would actually be beneficial, and then what potential drawbacks are there as well that you should not ignore. One of those drawbacks can really fuck you up. So maybe don't just blindly jump into this. But let's talk about why it would even work in the first place.
So when I was in my late teens, early 20s, I did try a kind of a high fat, very low carbohydrate thing.
As you see, Andrew Huberman ate this way as well. So that's all you need to know. That's why it works. It has to be legit.
Okay.
Now, jokes aside, but that's actually a pretty good first sign. But let's look at some actual arguments. The most relevant thing that happens when you go on a low-carb diet is that your body switches its energy fuel from using carbohydrates to using fat. So if you would imagine yourself as a car, you would normally drive on carbs as your fuel source. That's what gives you energy. But in ketosis, on a low-carb diet, on a ketogenic diet, you use fat as fuel, and that can be beneficial. Also, you have less blood sugar spikes and crashes because you eat no carbs that do that. And those two things, being in ketosis, using fat as fuel, and having stable blood sugar levels, is pretty likely to make you have more stable energy. There are no ups and downs. You will have longer, maintained energy instead of those short energy bursts that you are probably very familiar with. And I can tell you from my own experience that you can also feel this in the gym. There are many top performing athletes who also eat a low-carb, high-fat diet. Just to name a few examples, we have Dave McLeod, a rock climber, Brock Lesnar, Kobe Bryant and LeBron James have tapped into it too. I'm not saying it's the better diet for athletic performance, but I really felt a noticeable shift and that I had more stable energy and for longer, like I said. So I could work out for longer in the gym without getting tired. And that was pretty nice. Although I will also say that very high intensity exercise can also be pretty challenging on a low carb diet. But once again, it really depends on your lifestyle and you as an individual. I'd say for an average guy, it's better to get your energy from fat rather than carbohydrates. Also because if you want a very simple comparison, you can survive and thrive on 0 grams of carbohydrates, but you can't survive on 0 grams of fat. So which one seems more important? Of course, that's not final proof that relying on fat as fuel is better than on carbs, but it would maybe make sense. Also at the same time, some people suggest that using fat as your fuel source even is better for your brain. And I can tell you, without the carbs in your diet, you will definitely have better focus, better clarity, and you don't get distracted that much from food. At least once you get used to it. How long that may take is something I'll address later on as well. But it is really another huge benefit for me personally too. Once you're used to it, you have no more cravings for sugar or even carbs in general. To me that sounded unbelievable. I felt like I will always crave sugar and at least carbs. But if you actually do it for a while, you start to actually like that feeling of being in ketosis and you don't want to give it up just for some carbs. But of course, another huge thing is that reducing the junk food, reducing all the sweets and snacks, as well as the rice, pasta and bread, simply leads to better nutrition, more of the essential micronutrients in your body. Because look at the nutrient density. Compare pasta, rice and bread with eggs, meat, berries, vegetables and even cheese. You don't eat pasta, bread and rice for the nutrition. You eat it because it fills you up and maybe it tastes nice too. So naturally, you will find yourself eating more nutrient-rich food. Because although you increase fat intake, you don't just randomly drink a bottle of olive oil. And of course, eating those nutrient-rich foods gives you more nutritional value, which of course will make you healthier and more energetic. And on top of that, studies have also shown potential benefits in regards to reducing inflammation, losing weight, reversing insulin resistance, improving blood cholesterol levels, to reduce heart disease. Yes, even when you eat a lot of meat and a lot of eggs, which are so bad for your health, but when you actually do it, you will realize it's actually pretty good for your health. And a couple of other potential benefits as well. So, I don't know about you, but to me that sounds pretty good. But should you really try it? Is it actually worth it? Will it be worth it for you? And what are potential drawbacks or risks that might make this a bit more complicated? Let's actually look at those drawbacks or risks first, because then it's going to be easier to evaluate whether you want to try it too. And the big one of those risks or drawbacks is getting a potential keto flu. That means when you cut the carbohydrates, you will end up feeling pretty sick and really not good at all. And also definitely not energetic. I had this before and it really just feels like a flu, pretty much. But the thing is, that is avoidable. You don't need to experience a keto flu. If you do it right, you eat enough fat and especially you get enough electrolytes into your system, you can actually experience no keto flu at all. So that's a risk, but like I said, it is avoidable, so I don't know. Wouldn't be reason enough for me to not try it. Another risk that people warn about is that you literally remove a whole macro from your diet. And I get it. It sounds kind of ridiculous, kind of crazy, maybe a bit stupid as well. But I will ask you this. Having low carbohydrates for most of our history, for our ancestors, was super normal. So can it really be that bad? Or might it actually be beneficial and good for us because we are actually used to relying on fat as fuel?
Good question.
I don't know. There are probably different opinions on that. And also you don't completely remove carbohydrates from your diet, at least not on a typical low-carb diet. So with that being said, I'm not really convinced that this is too problematic. It might actually be good. But I will say, there is also the argument of your body getting used to eating low carbohydrates. Like if you eat really low carb for multiple years, you might end up struggling with eating carbs again in the future. And maybe for whatever reason you want to eat carbs again. And if you're then not able to do it, of course that would be pretty bad, annoying, dangerous, sad, I don't know. Definitely not good. But also, this too probably is avoidable if you simply have carbs once in a while. Again, on a keto diet, you can have some carbs in your day, and maybe not getting too much used to it can be a good reason or excuse to implement a cheat day. So maybe that's a good idea. Also, I read about carbs leading to serotonin release, which is a neurotransmitter that makes you feel happy, simplified. So a low-carb diet could potentially be risky for your mental health, leading to depression. Maybe it can for a select few people. But at the same time, many people solve their depression when they switch to a low-carb diet. And also the studies are very mixed. In the end, I think it could very well just be that eating the carbs because you're addicted makes you satisfied, which leads to a serotonin release because that craving is satisfied. But when you don't even have that craving anymore because you're used to eating low carb, I'm very sure your body will get used to it. I mean, if we ate low carb for pretty much all our history, I don't think it's a significant reason to make us depressed. It's not usually how evolution and the human body works. What is a big drawback from my experience is that everything in Western society is revolving around carbs, at least when it comes to food. If you're on the go, if you walk through the city or whatever, you literally pretty much can't buy a low-carb snack. It literally feels impossible. You either go to the bakery, which is literally just carbs, you grab a kebab, also carbs. You go to an Asian place which usually has rice or pasta. You buy pasta on the go, pizza to go. Fast food always has carbs as well. But getting a salad, eggs or meat ready for you to eat to go really is a challenge that can really be annoying. Those options usually only work in a supermarket. But anywhere else, it's really not easy. Been there, done that. Also, the second really big negative thing for me personally is that this diet or this way of eating is usually way more expensive. I mean, cheap calories usually are rice, pasta, bread, but buying protein and healthy fats quickly adds up. Trust me on that one. I think those are some important things to consider. There definitely is more to consider when you think about switching to a low-carb diet, but this video is already pretty long, so let's move on to the promised bonus tip to make all this, everything I talked about already, even more effective.
Okay, let's go.
And if you watched some of my videos before, you maybe heard of it before, but if not, what I'm telling you to do is to just eat until you're 60%, maybe up to 70% full. That way, you don't spend a lot of energy on digesting, you're not feeling like full and heavy, and it doesn't drag you down, gives you brain fog, and definitely decreases your energy. It's way better for maintaining high energy and good focus. And you can also do it on a high carb diet too. In my opinion, that's actually even more important in that case. But just eating until you're 60 to 70% full, especially for breakfast and lunch, can really help you to have more energy. It's like a keto diet for energy on steroids, especially when it comes to mental energy. Now, whether you should try a low-carb diet or not is definitely going to be up to you. I don't really like to tell you what to do, and I won't do that here, but you heard some drawbacks and some benefits too. Personally, I think it's a good idea to at least try it. I'd probably give it like a month, and then you can still decide whether that's something for you or not. That's also what I did. And I can tell you, for the first 1 or 2 weeks, it could be a bit rough, especially if you're really addicted to carbohydrates. But slowly after that, you will definitely start to get used to it. And by then, after 2, maybe 3 weeks, you should definitely see some of the benefits, especially in regards to having more energy. And many of those benefits you can also feel earlier too, at least if you do it right, with enough fat and electrolytes like I talked about earlier. But also maybe if you actually want to try it, do just a bit more research just to make sure. But then I think it's great to make that experience, to have tried it and know whether maybe actually your body likes that way of living and eating much more. It's probably not for everyone, and I totally respect that, but you only know after you've tried, right? So for now, that's all I wanted to say in this video. And if you want to try this and want some personalized guidance as well, you can book a call through the link in the description and we can talk one-on-one and I will hold you accountable. But of course, that's up to you. And alternatively, as a free option, you can watch my video about my personal specific way of eating for more energy and testosterone. Maybe see you over there. Either way, have a great day, stay excellent, and bye.